Well, feel free to keep doing that. We're going to get started now because we really want to make sure that we respect everyone's time and we just have so much great stuff here going. So we're going to get started. I am Sam. I have the pleasure of moderating today's webinar as well as hosting our speed connecting for content creators at the end of this. So definitely stick around for that. If you love travel and the ability to create content from anywhere in the world, then you'd probably dig my podcast. It's called The Freedom Lifestyle. And today, what we are going to be going through is we're going to kick things off with, who is Safety Wing? And what are our future plans? You're going to get to meet Safety Wing co-founder and CTO, Sarah. Then, what we're all here for, our storytelling workshop with Emmett Sparling. This is going to be our chance to enhance our content skills and learn tips about how we can use storytelling when we're creating content, and of course, how to collaborate with other creators. You are going to be the first ones to hear about a Nomad Adventure contest that we are launching in 6 days, June 27th. So it isn't public yet. You're going to know what we're doing and why we're so excited about it, how you can even win some of the prizes and participate in the contest. And then, of course, the speed connecting, where you're going to have a chance to meet some of the other creators on this call, which there's almost 300 already joining right now. So you never know when you're going to meet somebody who is perhaps working with the brand who said, hey, do you know any other content creators that we could sponsor? Or somebody who has this great tip for growing their audience that you hadn't tried that really brings you to the next level. So we really wanted to create time at the end for you to meet. And so we have a fun speed connecting game. Something to note is we are taking questions, and so there is the question box and the chat box. In the question area, put any questions that you might have for Emmett as he's going through his workshop. We're going to go through those and as he's talking and pick out some of the top questions that we hear time and time again in the chat, and then Emmett's going to answer them after his workshop. So note that if anything's not clear, you want to go deeper on something, please put your question in there. Whoops. So let's get started. We're going to have Sarah come join me on stage here, and she's going to let us know a little bit about Safety Wing and what we're building. Hey, Sarah, how's it going?
Hey, Sam, it's going well. Hey, everyone. Let me see if I can share my screen. Did you give me access to share the screen?
Yes. There's a lot of buttons in GoToMeeting, Sarah, but I think I've got you right here. Make presenter. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. And there we go. Hey, everyone. Very excited to talk to you all today. I am Sarah. I'm co-founder and CTO of Safety Wing. I'm originally from Norway, and I'm currently based in New York. I'm going to talk briefly about the vision behind Safety Wing. You might know Safety Wing best as Nomad Insurance, but there's actually a grander vision behind Safety Wing. So the idea from starting this company, as a background, I always knew I wanted to be a founder and I wanted to help solve big problems. And back in 2016, I left my job at a startup that I'd been with for 1.5 years at that point specifically to start a company. And back then I was a nomad. I was roaming around the world. I was in Chile and Berlin and other places. And at the same time, Sondre, who's now my co-founder together with Hans, he was running a freelancer platform with where they had freelancers from all over the world. And he wanted to offer them benefits like health insurance, but he found out that just didn't exist. So Sondre and I had multiple conversations over the next months talking about how tricky it is with benefits and insurance across borders, and how easy everything was when we were both just like in Norway. So then that turned into like, someone should just make a social safety net like we have in Norway and just make it available globally. And then you can just like pay for it as a membership. You know, that was just like these things that we were just talking together about. And you know, then you can just like stay with people across borders and you don't have to like think about it or deal with it. And I mean, that was pretty much the solution that we came up with. So in 2017, we decided to just like, how about we just make this? And we then kind of just modeled it after the Norwegian social safety net. So we looked into what that consists of, and that's health insurance, disability insurance, pension savings, and income protection. So the goal was, when me, Hans and Sondre sat down in front of our computers in different parts of the world to just like, okay, let's just make these products into one package and bundle it into a membership. We decided to start with insurance, and we started with kind of like the pioneers, the digital nomads, because they are the OG people already crossing borders rapidly and not really thinking about like national systems in the same way. And kind of the group that has the biggest urge to get away from the national systems. So after working on it on our project for 1 year, we launched Nomad Insurance. At that point, we had 5 employees and 4 freelancers. And 2 years after that, we launched Remote Health. And now it's 2 years after that even. So the future, I mean, just in general, one interesting observation I've had over these last 5 years watching SafeDoing grow is that the only thing we've done, you know, and only thing I've done and the only thing everyone else that has joined SafeDoing has done is you just kind of you set one foot in front of the other, and then suddenly you just like, if you look back, you've made a lot of progress. There are a few big moments here and there, like, you know, launch days or record-breaking days and things like that. But in general, it's just like one foot in front of the other, and then when you look back, you've gotten really far. And kind of this way of doing things has just like really given me complete faith in us making, you know, our grand vision a reality. And our vision doesn't stop there. We realized that you can have a global membership that gives you access to if you can have a global membership that gives you access to a safety net wherever you are in the world, do you even need a landlocked home country? So we've started the work to attach a passport to the safety net membership. So SafeDoing isn't finished until we have built all of our products and attached a passport that makes it easier to cross borders. We want to be the first country on the internet, and this has been the vision since day one, and it's still our goal today. Thank you so much for being here and for being supporters of SafeDoing, and we can't do it without the nomads, and I'm super excited to see what Emmett has planned for us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. It's so great to hear that perspective from actually building a company, because I know so many content creators that are on this call today, almost 300 of you have now joined, are entrepreneurs themselves. And so getting that perspective is always so helpful. So thank you. Next up, we're going to have Emmett come and speak. So just to acknowledge all the comments in the questions, thank you, Sarah. The question box, it seems like it's all one area. That's fine. We're going to roll with it. I'm going to go through these questions in chat as you're going. So if you're feeling like you can't find it, don't worry, I can't find it either. So we're just going to roll with it. But now we have Emmett, who we are so excited to have with us here today. And Emmett is a travel photographer, videographer, also the co-founder of Creator Circuit, which they describe as the Netflix for content creators. Emmett has nearly 1 million followers on Instagram and partnerships with top brands like Samsung and Lexus and Corona. And this is because Emmett knows how to create alluring content. But most importantly, Emmett, your specialty is storytelling, which is what you are going to teach us all today. It's been one of the keys to your success. So we are very excited for that. The quality of your video has gone down a little bit, Emmett, since our prep, but
Okay.
oh, yeah, I know you changed
Um, yeah, I'll just switch back to the other Wi-Fi and see how it
the
goes.
Yeah, we want to be able to see you. There you go. So yeah, we're going to learn a little bit about his keys to success with creating content and how he's been able to secure these brand partnerships with really focusing on that specialty of storytelling. You're also going to get a sneak peek at how he creates some of his content, as well as some of the content he's working on right now for our adventure campaign that you are going to be the first to hear about.
How's this? Can you see or hear me?
It's a little bit paused on your video, but I'm going to go
Oh,
off and see if
how is it
that helps. It's kind of frozen. If you wanted to maybe toggle your camera on and off,
now?
maybe
Okay.
the audience. Yeah. Are you guys seeing the same thing I'm seeing? Put it as a question.
You're frozen for me, but I'm
Okay.
not frozen. That's annoying because it was just working.
It was just,
Um,
you're all here 30 minutes before to make sure this was smooth. So I'm going to go off and see if that helps.
I mean,
Okay.
as long as you can hear me, I think that should be
Yeah,
fine.
that's true. As
The
long as we can hear you and
there
we can
work.
hear you. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to make you a presenter and you are going to share your content with them. There you go. And please,
Uh,
yeah, remember some questions in the question box. I'll be looking at them. I'll be answering some of them as we go, and just enjoy.
how's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining the webinar. There's like 300 and something of you, which is crazy. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about storytelling, collaboration, and a bit on social media as well. So I've been taking photos and traveling at the same time around 5 years now. I started in about 2017. I just went backpacking one day because I was bored of, so I was shooting in the fashion industry and kind of got sick of that whole fashion world because there can be quite a few egos and reputations being thrown around, and I just kind of wanted to break from it. So I saved up about $4,000 and booked a one-way ticket to Mexico and just backpacked through Mexico for about 2 months, and fell in love with traveling and started to build a travel photography portfolio at the same time as backpacking. And so fast forward 5 years later, and I'm doing this full time now, and shooting campaigns for various companies around the world. Right now, I'm currently in Italy on some random little coastal town, which is why the Wi-Fi is not very good, but I think it's working now. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is the 4 pillars of impactful content creation. So over the last couple of years, these are things that I've kind of noticed when I'm creating content. And what I've noticed is a common theme in the content that I create that has the most impact. So the first thing is location. Second thing is conditions. Third thing, intention. And the fourth thing is team. So you can make good content with 3 out of those 4 pillars. So for example, you have a good team, you've got a good plan, but you've got a good location, but the conditions are horrible. Let's say it's pouring rain or something the whole time. You're probably still going to get some pretty good content because you'll have the chemistry from the team, you'll have a good plan, you'll have a great location, but it's not going to look as good as it could because the conditions are bad. Or let's say you have a really great location, great conditions, you've got a really good plan, but the team is horrible. Chances are you'll still get some pretty good content, but it might not be as best as it possibly could.
Hey, Emmett.
Um, is it not sharing
Yeah,
properly?
the screen's just white. Maybe just stop sharing and then share back again. What you're saying was great. I didn't want to interrupt any word, but there we go. Okay, we can all
You
see
see
it
that
now.
now? Can
Perfect.
you see that?
We see a white screen again.
Oh, that's because I'm in full screen. Maybe I'll just do this in not full
Yeah,
screen.
that looks
There.
great.
Okay. Sorry, guys. So location, conditions, intention, team. So, well, you've heard everything I said, so I don't need to go do that all again. But so basically, you can make good content with 3 out of the 4 pillars, but you kind of need to have all 4 pillars to take the content to the next level. So this these 4 pillars, when all 4 of them up, that's when you create the best content possible, because everything seems to work well and it all flows. So everything I do now, I try to go into it with the intention of getting all 4 of those pillars to line up. It's not exactly easy, but it's amazing. I just want to on that intention slide as well. This is basically the plan that you have going into the shoot that you're doing. So it can be as loose as, I'm going to go to India and I want to go in with the intention of vlog, and you just have to kind of keep that intention and you just have to keep that intention throughout the whole trip, and that will give you a framework for your trip, and you'll come out of it with no intention and decide to make a vlog halfway through the trip. So it can be as loose as that, or it can be creating a detailed shot list and a storyboard for a short film that you want to create in a specific location. So going into a trip with intention is really important for making sure your content is as good as possible. Now, you can make good content with 3 of the 4, but you need all 4 to take the content to the next level to create impact. Let's talk about collaborating with others. So I have a video that I'm going to share here, but it will play back a little bit choppy, but the audio is what you really need. And it is a quick lesson on basically collaborating with others in the most effective way possible. Hey guys, welcome to another Creator Circuit video. I'm Emmett Sparling, and in this one I'm going to talk to you about collaboration and why it's the most important thing for growth in the photography industry, especially now with social media. We're going to talk about what makes a successful team and how I collaborate with my peers and how to be a helpful team member yourself. Everything I've done in the photography or video space in the past few years has required some sort of team, and it's absolutely necessary that the team works like a well-oiled machine, especially when you have your reputation on the line and you're dealing with a global brand. When I'm building a team, no matter how big or small, the first thing I take into consideration is complementary skill sets rather than competing skill sets. This means I don't want to invite friends or hire somebody that does exactly the same thing as me, because we're just going to end up butting heads and shooting the same thing. I want to find someone who can help me with the things that I won't be able to do. For example, I just did a trip to Banff and I hired Ryan to help shoot video, Hayden to model for some product, and I'm taking photos. There's obviously going to be a bit of overlap, and that's totally fine and it's fun. But it's important to be clear with what each person's role is and what they're bringing to the table. On most of the trips that I'm on, I'm working with people who have extremely similar skill sets to me, and there's a ton of overlap. When this happens, we share everything. Now, we're obviously not sharing our favorite photos that we take, but we share all the video clips and miscellaneous raw photos taken along the way. This allows us to divide and conquer when we get to a location. Like, I know I don't have to go get a video of that area because Josiah is shooting over there, and I can just focus on getting the shot over here. Then after the trip, we all just share the video files and we can use them for whatever we want. The key for making that method of collaboration work is to be very clear with it before the trip starts. Make sure everyone is on the same page and down to share content. This typically only works when you're all at the same skill level, because someone better than you at photography or video isn't going to want to share their stuff. So, what can you do to be a helpful team member? There are a number of different things that are super important for professionalism and creating a good impression. You want to do your best so you get invited on future trips, because everybody talks. If I've never met someone, but I see that Josiah, for example, has been on a trip with them, I'll ask Josiah what were they like and if they were good to work with. So, number 1, being on time. If there's a sunrise shoot, you really don't want to be the one holding everyone up because you slept in. That's a really good way to make everyone really frustrated at you. Number 2, know your shit. If somebody hires you to be a second shooter for a video, make sure you know how to shoot video. Don't accept jobs that are beyond your skill level, because you're just going to end up giving yourself a bad reputation. Keep practicing and refining your skills so when the opportunity does arise, you can say yes with confidence. And lastly, number 3, be fun and easy to work with. This one's hard to teach, but you need to be easygoing and not add any stress to the shooting environment. Basically, just don't be annoying and have fun. I'm going to end this video with one last note. Surround yourself with opportunity. If you're in a place that has a super limited photography community, try saving up, booking a flight, and spending a bit of time in a place with more opportunity. This is why places like Bali, Tulum, New York, and LA are such big hubs for influencers. There are way more opportunities to collaborate with like-minded, creative people in places like these. Thank you for watching this video, you guys. See you in the next one. So that's a video on Creator Circuit, which is that online learning platform that I created last year. And that kind of tells you more about the team pillar. Now, some key takeaways from that video: complementary skill sets versus competing skill sets. This is a really important aspect to building a team because it will basically dictate whether or not your team is going to be butting heads the whole time or not. To account different personalities and stuff as well, but that's kind of when things get a bit bigger. But complementary skill sets is a fantastic way to make sure your team has all the support it needs when you're creating something. Sharing footage is a really great way to kind of divide and conquer when you get to a location. For example, Josiah and I, or Connor and I, we're always sharing all of our content that we shoot, just so we're able to kind of split up and shoot as much as possible when we get somewhere. Now, I'm not going to go and share my best photo that I took all day with Josiah, but we're going to share all the random video clips and photo bits that we've taken along the way that we don't really have much of an attachment to. And the really important thing for that is just making sure that you're on the same page about that before you start shooting. Know your stuff and only accept jobs in confidence. So if you get a really enticing opportunity, but you have no idea how to, like, let's say it's for video, but you have no idea how to shoot video, maybe don't accept that because you don't want to get there and let down the person that hired you, because you don't want to burn bridges that way. Bring a unique skill set to the table. That could be as simple as they need a photographer and you're a photographer, so you're bringing that skill set to the table. It doesn't need to be overly complicated. And be easy to work with. So be on time, don't be annoying, just be easy to work with. That also comes with time and practice as well. So on top of these 4 pillars of impactful content, you need one more thing that's going to tie it all together. As if they're 4 table legs, this is kind of like the tabletop, and that is story. So storytelling is a tricky thing to master, and like most things, you get better the more you do it. So there's some easy photo exercises you can do to practice your storytelling and get comfortable with it. I do this all the time when I'm traveling, and it helps like crazy when it comes to creating a video where I need to tell a cohesive story. So for example, when I'm going out wandering around like a city here in Italy, for example, I'm sure you've seen on my Instagram where I've done these little photo series where I'm sharing what happened throughout the day. And it's just quick frames throughout my day of what I've been doing. And that's just a really great exercise to kind of get your head wrapped around all the little bits you need to shoot in order to tell a cohesive story at the end of the day. Now, here's some kind of general rules that I like to, or not rules, but guidelines that can help you tell those kind of stories, those quick daily exercise type things. So the first thing is capturing those in-between moments. So if you go to every spot and you only take out your camera when it's the epic sunset or the classic photo spot, you're only going to have a bunch of like the banger photos at the end of the day. You're not going to have anything that's actually going to help tell that story. So capturing these in-between moments are really important for helping to carry the story throughout the day. So that could be as simple as driving to the airport, or I don't know, grabbing a coffee before you start on some boat cruise or something. I don't know. Just those little moments that you don't normally think of to take photos. Those are the moments that are going to actually be telling the story, because all those epic photos that you normally would just take your camera out for, those are going to be the ones that kind of finish off the story. They're not actually the storytelling bits in the middle. So the next thing that I like to teach people is the best camera is the one that's with you. So it doesn't matter what camera you have with you, you're just trying to tell a story with it. So sometimes I'll take photos on my iPhone, my little point and shoot, or my DSLR, my drone. It doesn't matter what the camera is, as long as I'm capturing a little piece of that moment to help tell the story, that's what's going to really make the most difference. And that's why it's the best camera, because it's the one that's with you. It's the one that can help capture that experience. So I try to get at least one establishing shot. And this kind of helps set the scene for your viewer. This kind of will just show them like, this is where we are, this is where the adventure's happening. You'll see in almost every movie they have an establishing shot, just because it does exactly that. It helps set the scene. So don't worry if things don't go as planned. It's like, I don't know, it almost makes the story more interesting when things don't go as planned. So don't worry if your whole day goes to shit, because like that will make the story more interesting. Just focus on capturing those in-between moments and the rest will work out fine. Don't shoot more than you need to. So I often do this. If I'm just trying to shoot an in-between moment and I'm on crazy burst mode and I'm just shooting like 30 photos of one little thing, I really only need one. And it also doesn't need to be a perfect photo. It's just trying to tell the story. So over the last like year or so, I've been practicing stepping back and taking way fewer photos, because that's all I really need. And I'm just trying to tell a story with these images. I'm not actually trying to print these massive on the wall. So by shooting less, you focus more on the story and more on, this is that in-between moment that I need to be able to tell this story. And you only really need one photo of it. So when you're out there capturing your day, try and get like a mix of candid, lifestyle, portrait, and close-ups to tie everything together. You don't want to just focus on only taking photos of buildings in downtown Milan or something. You want to be focusing on, like, I don't know, portraits of your friends, the ice cream cone you got, the train you got on, and the people you met along the way, along with some photos of buildings, just so it's not just one big pile of photos that look exactly the same. You want to try and get some variety in there to help tell the story in a more interesting way. And then the best stories are the most personal ones. So oftentimes, like a lot of people, it's a lot harder to tell a story that's not your own. So if you're going somewhere and you're interviewing people, you're trying to make like a mini documentary or something, that's a much harder thing to do than just following your day and creating a story about your personal life or something. Now, you can take that on a bigger scale and create I don't know, a bigger short film or something, and it'll be even better if you're doing it about something that's really personal to you. You'll not only be more invested, but it'll feel more authentic because it's a personal story. Now, I'm going to move into making a living with social media. So this is a very vague topic, but it's something that is pretty important. And I think almost everybody on social media is making money slightly differently. So this is how I personally started making a living with social media. And I'm going to talk about how I grew on social media. So the number one rule that I made for myself when I was starting out was to try to post every day. Now, this is super daunting and was also very hard to try and keep up with, but there are benefits with this that go beyond just growing on social media. So the number one benefit that I found from it was that it forces you to shoot more. So in order to keep up with those content demands that you've set for yourself by posting every single day, you have to be taking way more photos to be able to just keep up with it. So by shooting more, you end up practicing way more and you get way better at photography way faster because you're going out and you're shooting every single day. And so you get better than you get a lot better at photography a lot faster, or video, or whatever kind of content you're creating. The other reason is that it's one of the best ways to grow on Instagram. So you kind of stay at the top of people's feeds when you're posting regularly. People don't forget about you. They're more engaged with you, and it kind of almost becomes like a routine. People see your photo first thing in the morning, and that's like the start of their day. And so it's not only does it help you practice a lot more, it also helps you grow on social media, because that's what Instagram wants you to do. They want you to post more on there. So the other thing is, when people are following you, they want to see your content. So if I follow someone new and they haven't posted in 2 months, then chances are I don't really want to be following them, because I don't know, it's not as interesting. I want to see what this person's doing. That's why I'm following them, especially if it's for art or something, or yeah, something interesting, then I want to see that regularly. I try to limit it to around 1 or 2 posts per day, but yeah, I think 1 post per day is usually the sweet spot, and then try to make it like a mix of reels or still photos, because Instagram has really been pushing reels lately, but I've noticed still photos still help you grow quite a bit on Instagram. The other thing with shooting every day is it gives you way more content to experiment with. So what I mean by that is, let's say someone posts once every week. In 1 month, they'll have four photos on their feed. You'll have 30 photos on their feed, so on your feed. So that means you'll get a way better understanding of what kind of photos do well on your feed and what kind don't. Whereas the other person will only have 4 photos to look at, so they won't have as much data to work with, or just even to look at. So it just helps you experiment with seeing what your audience likes to see, what works best, and you can kind of fine tune that so you know what's going to do well on social media when you post it. The last thing is, or another important piece of posting on social media, is to provide value with every piece of content you post. This is something I didn't always do, but when I started doing it, I noticed people became a lot more dedicated to, like, or not dedicated, but people became more interested in what I was sharing. So by providing value, that could be as simple as telling a cool story from your day, or sharing some cool fact from the location you're in, or something relevant to the post. It could even be humor. Humor is a great way to add value, just because it's funny and people enjoy watching funny things. So, and then another thing is creating unique content is another great way to add value, but that's a whole other topic that is also really hard to teach. But a unique piece of content is going to be adding value in its own unique way. And it also helps you stand out among the crowds. So the last thing or the last rule I kind of set for myself when growing on social media and turning it into my full-time job was that you have to treat it like a full-time job if you want it to be your full-time job. So you can't be distracted with another thing on the side. You kind of have to drop everything and just dive right in and really focus on getting better at it. If you're on the fence about it, you kind of just have to commit. The only people that I know that have been doing really well in this, or in the whole social media space, are the ones that have fully committed and have been doing it as their full-time job. So it is challenging and it's very daunting, and you probably won't make much money for the first couple, like I didn't make very much money for the first 3 years of doing it. But it is worth it in the end, and you have to treat it like a full-time job if you want it to be your full-time job. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, I guess I'll be doing a Q&A shortly, but I hope that was helpful, and I hope you could see my screen properly. And if you want to learn a lot more and actually see that video that I played earlier in a smooth way, Creator Circuit has like 300 videos like that, where I kind of dive into each of these topics quite a bit more in depth and just give a lot more insight into each one. I have lessons on all sorts of different photography techniques as well, like portrait photography, travel, landscape stuff, video, all that good stuff. So check out Creator Circuit if you haven't already for that kind of stuff as well. I think Sam is coming back here. I don't really know what's happening next in this webinar, but here you are.
Hello, I'm right here. Yeah, sometimes just like talking to the bits, you're like, okay, like, can everyone hear me? What's going on now? That was
Oh,
amazing.
I see the little number. I don't actually see any of the chats for some reason, but
Okay, yeah, there's been lots. It's in the question box, lots of different comments. I've been going through the questions for you and kind of picking up some themes. One thing I thought was really interesting is when you just talked about, really taking it seriously as your career and seeing this as a potential full-time thing for you. Do you remember the moment for you when you realized, okay, like this could actually be my full-time career, my full-time business isn't a hobby? Like, was it a particular brand deal or like a viral post? Like, when was that moment you took it as a full-time job?
yeah, it was kind of at the end of the first year that I started backpacking. I was supposed to be going to film school. I had a scholarship for a local film school that I kind of wanted to pursue, but then I started like some of my photos started getting better. I started getting more job opportunities to travel, and so I had originally taken one gap year out of high school, and then I was going to take a second gap year, and then that kind of turned into 3, 4, 5, 6 gap years. So um, yeah, it was that moment where I was like, it was that application deadline for university, and I was like, I'm gonna just keep doing this and see where it ends up, but I'm just gonna fully commit. So luckily it worked out, but yeah, it was definitely a little decision moment there, but it wasn't as high stakes as quitting a job and or completely changing what field I was in. But yeah, I mean, it was
Hmm.
giving up a scholarship. It's still,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it seems paid off for you. So that's amazing to hear these stories. You've branded yourself under your name, right? So when you're on Instagram and you're pitching contracts, you're going as Emmett Sparling. In your experience, is there pros or cons of branding yourself using your name versus like someone I've followed for a while is the Blonde Abroad? What are your thoughts on that from both like a client perspective as well as like growing your audience? How did you come to that decision?
I've found that just having your name as your brand is, especially on social media, is, well, it depends what you want out of it. I think some people will choose to not have their name on social media just for privacy reasons. But I've found that having your name as your main brand is usually the best way to go. It, like, when people come up to you, they say, "Hey, are you Emmett?" instead of, "Hey, do you travel?" or something. Even my friend Jack, Do You Travel, he's changed his username from Do You Travel back to Jack Morris. So um, I think, yeah, I think having it as your name is usually the best way to go. It's also the most professional way, I think. Um, but then if you have your own company, I think doing it as a company is like your company name is probably good. Or if you're doing it with multiple people, like I see a lot of couples accounts that have more of a nickname kind of username. I think that's probably helpful as well because there's not enough room in your Instagram handle to have both names. Um, so it all kind of depends, but I personally prefer doing just your name and attaching your name to your brand because then, like for example, giving credit to photos, something as simple as that. Like people see my name, they can just look me up on Instagram. It's easy as that. But if I were to put like a magazine article up and my name is something completely different on social media, then it's just gonna not like I'm not actually gonna be getting credit even though my name is on it. It's gonna be like given to whatever. It's gonna be like, yeah, the nickname and my name are two separate identities. So Yeah.
And your name will follow you forever, unless of course you change it
Right.
or get married
Yeah.
or something. But I agree. I had a similar experience where my first business, we created a brand around it, and I had two co-founders, and we put so much effort to growing that social media account. And then our business ended. The three of us kind of parted ways, which happens in business. And now this like amazing Instagram account and community just sits like dormant. And so this time around, I was
Mhm.
like, I'm doing everything under my own name. And whether it's this project or this project, like this for sure will be forever. So it's good to hear you agree too.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about going niche? So would you say your niche is like travel photography, videography? Have you considered going more niche than that? There's some questions around like how niche should you go, and what are your
Mhm.
thoughts on niching at the beginning and going broad later? Generally, how you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky to know how niche you should go because that's something where that comes in with the experimentation side of things that I was talking about a little bit earlier. So, like by posting a whole bunch of different types of content, you're going to kind of figure out what works best. I'd say pick a general theme and then post within that theme and see what works best. Um, I find some people that choose like something that they're really passionate about within their niche. Um, like let's say um, someone who loves drone photography and they start deciding to only post drone photography. I find that usually does quite well, and that's usually a good thing to do because it kind of sets you slightly apart. I don't think drone photography was the best example there, but you get the idea. And then, yeah, I think probably sticking to a pretty unique niche or small niche is probably best at the start. Um, I've split my Instagram up into my kind of travel landscape stuff. That's my main account, and then I have my portrait account because I don't want to be posting portraits on my travel landscape account. And then I have my personal account. And so the reason I did that at the beginning was because if I have a travel landscape account, people are following me to see travel landscape stuff. Even though they might like my portraits a lot as well, the Instagram algorithm is not going to like that. They're like, you're a travel account, you shouldn't be posting portraits. And then they make your portrait photos just tank. So um, that is the reason I split my Instagram accounts up. So I have a whole portrait feed and a whole landscape feed because it just does better with the algorithm. And yeah, that's why I did it in the first place. And then now it's kind of just, yeah, they both taken their own um, paths that way. And then also the personal account is more just photos of myself. And then I just keep that separate from both of those because it has nothing to do with my work.
Cool. I'm getting a lot of questions about technical gear and gear you use and upgrading. So I'm going to try to blend some of the questions and see if you could like maybe take us on a journey about, what yours was and perhaps if that's changed given the products in the market. So like question
Yeah.
like what's a beginner camera, right? People are wondering about that. If you're just getting started, you're not sure if it's going to be a full-time thing, you're playing around, what's a good beginner camera? When should you upgrade your gear? Still using a level crop sensor camera, not sure if it's time to upgrade. And then the third one that you can evolve with is lenses and focal lengths so that you can get full frame. So just let's talk about the tech from, an expert photographer, videographer here.
Yeah, so my first camera was a Canon T4i, which is like a little Rebel DSLR camera. And I think that one was really good because I learned that thing inside and out. Like I worked that camera. Like it was destroyed by the time I got rid of it. Um, but those smaller random DSLR cameras, you can do a lot with those if you really know how they work. They definitely will limit you to certain extents, but you can actually get some really great shots with those. Um, I wouldn't upgrade your camera until you're fully confident and really know what you're doing with your current camera because you're going to just get a better camera and it's going to be more complicated and like it's not going to make your photos better until you really understand what you're doing with your camera. So that doesn't mean you have to be the best, like with composition and how to direct people, all that kind of thing. It's more like really knowing what's technically going on inside your camera and how to really nail your settings for every situation that you're in. Because the more expensive cameras, they all work the same way. Every camera is kind of fundamentally the same. So like my Sony A1 is fundamentally the exact same as the Canon R5, even though they're both competing camera types, and it's the exact same as a Canon T4i from 5 years ago. Like they're all fundamentally the same. They all work the same way generally. They all have shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and so once you really understand that, then I think you should start looking to upgrade your camera if you want to do that. Going from crop sensor to full frame, I think that was probably the biggest leap with my photography, where I really noticed a big difference from upgrading my camera. I went from a Canon 7D to a Canon 60, so crop sensor to a full frame camera. A bigger sensor just suddenly allowed me to be shooting in low light a lot better. The depth of field was better. Like everything just seemed to look better all of a sudden. So that is the biggest difference that I usually notice, or that I ever did notice when I was upgrading my camera. But as soon as you upgrade to full frame, everything gets more expensive. So lenses become a lot more expensive because they need to be built bigger to cover more sensor. They're usually built from higher materials and stuff, higher quality materials. But nowadays, I think newer lenses are coming out built from cheaper materials. So you can actually get pretty cheap full frame lenses now, which is nice. Yeah. And then, so after the 60, I moved to the Canon 5D Mark IV. I still have that camera at home. It's a fantastic camera. I went through probably 3 of those just because I kept breaking them. And then I had a 1DX. I still have it at home, 1DX Mark II, which is fantastic for video, but it's huge and really heavy. And then that's actually what I shoot all my underwater stuff with currently, is the 1DX Mark II, just because it's fantastic at autofocus underwater. It's really fast, really good in low light, even though it's quite a bit older camera. It shoots 4K, and yeah, it's just an amazing camera, but it's starting to get a bit old and it's really, really heavy. So I might try and get an underwater housing for my newest camera, which I'll talk about in a sec. So then I moved to mirrorless with the Canon R5, which was amazing. That camera's fantastic. It does lack a little bit in low light, but I learned to work around it by shooting in slower shutter speeds and then using the image stabilization that's built into that camera. And then now I'm shooting on a Sony A1. I made the switch earlier this year because Sony wanted to work with me and sponsor some of my projects, and they make great cameras as well. So I made the switch. Also, Chris Burkhardt convinced me on a late night shoot out in, I don't know, somewhere in New Mexico, I think. He convinced me to make the switch. So I decided to give it a go, and I've been loving it so far. I think there's honestly not much of a difference that I've noticed on the higher end Sonys versus the higher end Canons. It might be a bit different on the lower end stuff, but yeah. So for example, right now, this shoot that we're doing here in Italy, we've got a Sony A7S Mark III. Actually, this is a FX3, which is basically the A7S Mark III, but in a different, more cinema housing body. So you can put one of these cages on it more easily. And we're shooting a reel with this thing, so it's mounted vertically, which feels wrong, but it is what it is. And then my photo camera is this guy right here. This is a Sony A1, and I have a 24 to 70 millimeter lens on it, which is a fantastic travel zoom lens. It's pretty expensive, but that's because it is super sharp, super durable, and basically bomb-proof. So, like for example, when I went through those 3 different 5D Mark IVs, I was breaking the camera like basically once every year, but I had the same 24 to 70 millimeter lens on it the entire time, and the lens was totally fine because the lenses are built to be as durable as the highest end camera, but the camera is can be as like fragile as they want. It doesn't matter. So the lens is usually going to be more durable than your camera if you have one of the higher end lenses, unless you drop it because the whole thing is made of glass. Yeah, I kind of just started rambling there about camera gear because I could talk about it all day long.
No, I think it's good. I'm going to give you one super quick question just so I fit one more in there because we are sadly at time. With that said, a lot of questions seem to be about improving my photography skills, underwater photography, drones, and I'm pretty sure Creator Circuit is a great resource for people to upgrade their content skills and learn more about these. So definitely plugging that. Real quick question for you, Emmett. You create a lot of content, a lot of video footage. It's a lot of files. Do you have any preferred storage or way of capturing all of these to organize yourself? Another tech question.
Yeah, so that is definitely something that I'm still kind of struggling, well, not struggling with, but just kind of trying to figure out the best way to work with. Because as you start getting into these higher end camera, file sizes get way bigger, or just even as you shoot more, end up dealing with way more data. So, and also, you
I think you may have frozen.
get more data. So, and then also when let's say you're shooting
I think you're kind of breaking out, Emmett. Breaking out.
a really important video for a client, like the DJI launch video that I shot in mid, that if I'm that would so traveling because using should I just go for it and hope for the best? So basically, I use SSDs while I'm traveling.
You're back.
Oh no.
You're good. SSDs while traveling.
Okay, I use SSD while traveling. They're small and they're usually a lower storage. So I use a Glyph SSD. That's GLYPH. That's like a 4 terabyte SSD. And then I have two G Drive SSDs, which are made by Western Digital, and they are both 2 terabytes. So that's kind of like my working hard drives. And then I have two Lacy 5 terabyte rugged SSDs, or not SSDs, hard drives. So those are like the main backups that I carry with me while traveling as well. So I have all the info, all the footage on the SSDs as like the safe backup. Then I have it all backed up again onto these Lacy traditional hard drives. And then as soon as I get home, I dump all of that footage onto the big like desktop hard drives. And I have like a 12 terabyte, 20 terabyte, those kind of size hard drives. I think I have probably 200 terabytes of footage sitting on my desk at home. And so all that, then a lot of that is backed up to the cloud slowly while I travel. So it's just like a big, like basically the rule is if you have one copy, you have 0 copies. If you have 2 copies, you have 1 copy. Like 3 copies, you have 2 copies. You just kind of have to look at it that way because you never know when your hard drive is going to fail on you. And keeping it organized is the most important thing ever because I never really like, it took me probably 2 or 3 years to suddenly try and get organized, and that's the worst thing ever because then you have to go and reorganize 3 years of shooting, which is a huge pain in the ass. And I just did a big reorganization like a month ago, right before I left for this trip. And I opened notes and basically just wrote down exactly what's on every single one of my hard drives. So when I'm traveling and let's say I need someone to get something off a hard drive, I know exactly where to send them and tell them to look. So that's also important. So I'd say, yeah, organization is key, and then bring an SSD, at least one. I know SanDisk makes some really good ones. Western Digital makes the G Drive ones. Samsung makes some good ones that are called like T7 drives or something. and then Glyph makes the highest capacity ones. So they're a little more expensive, but they're also higher capacity. So they go up to, I think, 8 terabytes now, which is amazing for a travel hard drive, which is only like, I mean, this is a G drive, but you can see how small they are. That's 2 terabytes. So yeah, and then having those more traditional hard drives carrying with you as kind of just a fail-safe, and then back it all up to big desktop drives when you get home. That's kind of my workflow for it all.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, and from what I remember working with photographers and videographers, bring extra cards, charge things, have extra batteries. I've seen that be an issue. So yeah, really great tips here. I'm going to go tell them a little bit about the Nomad Adventure competition, and you're going to stick around because you're going to show us something again too, right, Emmett? Okay,
Yep.
share my screen. So you guys should all be able to see this. Okay, this is our Nomad, whoops, which is, hopefully you can all still see that, yeah, which we are launching in 6 days, June 27th. You are the first to hear about this. And this is the first time we've done something like this, where we're actually going to give away 3 all expense paid adventures. So I'll quickly touch on each of them, but you'll learn more in the email that we're sending. Our Nicaragua trip is going to be a surf retreat. So think beach vacation, surf coaching on Nicaragua's secluded central coast. You get to bring 3 friends as well. The next trip you could win is a sustainable sailing trip in Norway. So imagine experiencing the wild beauty of Norwegian mountains in a 50-foot sailboat. And then the third trip is a tuk-tuk adventure in Cambodia. So explore the Cambodian jungle in a tuk-tuk. Again, you can bring 3 friends. So this is really exciting, and we're launching this on June 27th. All of you, we hope, will enter the contest as well. Just by signing up, you get 1 ballot. Where it gets interesting is you'll get a referral link as soon as you sign up, and every person who signs up for free for the competition, from your link, you'll get 5 additional ballots. The winner will be chosen at random. We're going to be doing a lottery on July 8th. And so this is how we're going to give away the 3 trips. So the winners will be chosen on July 8th. And this we're going live with on June 27th. We really count on our community of ambassadors and mobilizers and other content creators who really get our mission of traveling and experiencing the world and capturing content to help us tell the world about projects like this. And so for that, we have a contest just for you for joining today. How it's going to work is everyone on this call who actually posts about this new adventure contest on June 27th when we launch, if you get 50 referrals through your link, automatically, no questions asked, we'll send you $100. So that's just our little incentive for you to help us spread the word about this amazing competition. The person who gets the most amount of people to sign up through their link, though, will get an additional $1,000. And then Emmett is going to pick the winner for our 3rd prize, which is getting the latest GoPro. And so you have 6 days to think about what you learned from Emmett today, storytelling, and get your content ready for June 27th. The most creative piece of content to promote the competition will win the latest GoPro. We don't care if it's a blog post, an Instagram reel, a YouTube video, whatever your channel is that you prefer and feel most comfortable in, we're cool with that. And we're going to send you an email this week to just, go through all these details. We've given you a lot of information today, but really wanted to make sure that you knew that we have this exclusive contest just for people on this call today. I'm going to be participating, so I will see you online on June 27th with your amazing content. And Emmett is going to show us an example of how he is preparing for this exciting competition with some of the content that he's actually going to be creating. And so I need to make you the presenter.
Okay, so it's going to be kind of choppy, I think, just because the Wi-Fi is not great. But I have just a quick little action sequence of clips here. Unfortunately, I don't have access to all my hard drives back in Vancouver right now, but I'm working with what I have with me. And I kind of just created it as I'm trying to match the movement of all these clips just to make it slightly more interesting. because it all flows together quite a bit better. And then also just trying to match like helicopter with helicopter with helicopter, ski, 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 hiking. So just kind of matching the different themes of what each clip is about, basically. So jumping in the water and then suddenly surfing, scuba diving, free diving, and then that's how I'm ending it right now. But I just kind of, this is just the placeholder, or not placeholders, this is just where each clip is being placed right now in the feed or in the timeline. And then I'm going to be adding a bit of sound design, and then I'm going to be just color grading the whole thing so it looks even more cohesive together. But that's just kind of a rough like outline of what I've been doing to make it look good. Yeah, just trying to keep it based on what theme the video clip is about next to the other clips. And then another thing I've been doing as well is adding Ken burns, which is this effect here in Final Cut Pro where you can just digital zoom in and out of certain clips. And that helps to give it more energy. Kind of keeps the movement of the shot. So for example, here it's going to start in the full frame and then it's going to end, and this is going to be the frame. And then the clip's also in slow motion, so it looks pretty cool because the clip is like zooming in while he's going in slow motion. And then the next clip is also zooming in. Then so it basically just helps to add cohesive movement between various clips. So that's just another thing that I'm doing to make everything kind of go more smoothly together. Yeah, basically it for that.
I love that you said Ken Burns because that's basically my only video editing skill that I have. So good to know that that is still relevant by the pros. I know how to do that one. So thank you. I'm really excited to see the final version of this. Get like a sneak peek.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Instagram soon.
Yes, June 27th. And so this brings us to the very end of our webinar today, which is when we get to meet each other and connect with the other content creators who are in this call. So we're going to leave GoToWebinar and go to a different tool. Promise it'll be much smoother. It is web-based. It works best on Chrome and not on mobile. So I'm going to get the Safe Doing team to put that in the questions area so that you can see it and click on that link. And if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know if I have the energy right now to do speed connecting, why don't you come check it out and do one round? The rounds are very fast paced. They're like 10 to 12 minutes and it's facilitated speed connecting. And so how it's going to work, you'll get to meet other people on the call today, answer some questions to help facilitate that networking piece, and ideally meet another content creator that you might be able to collaborate with or learn from today. So let's put that link in the chat, and I'm going to go meet all of you there. Thank you so much, Emmett. We've recorded all of this. We're going to be sending this out in an email, the replay. A couple people asked you for your actual deck presentation, so maybe we can throw that as an attachment, as well as that video that you played for us.
Yeah, totally. And I'm also I'll do one round on this speed connecting thing.
Yay! Please. Okay, so do you have the link?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when you get there, you should say there's a question, a question prompt when you join. That's you're in the right place. If you had your own late night talk show, who do you invite as your first guest? Mine is obvious, Taylor Swift. Putting that in.
I don't know. Christopher Nolan would be cool, but I don't know if he'd be a great talk show guest.
So
right,
everyone,
I think I'm gonna have to sign off of this camera.
Okay, cool. I'll see you there, Emmett. Thanks for joining one round. People are lucky who get to chat with you. So remember, it works best on Chrome, ideally not for mobile. You'll join. Okay, I see some people coming in. That's amazing. Migrate over there. Once you're in, I see 15 of you already. You can leave GoToWebinar and you'll learn a little bit more about what we're doing in here. It'll be a chat box for now, but soon you'll have a chance to turn on your webcam and your mic. Jimmy Fallon. Okay. All right, Safety Wing team, I'm going to head over there, but maybe you can monitor the chat with me or for me for a few more minutes to just help people migrate over there. Thank you everyone so much for sticking around and joining the Speed Connecting round. I will see you there.